Howdy everybody, time for Spider and Old Scooter again. Spider Solitaire Deluxe. I'm Old Scooter, this is Spider Mac, the AI behind the game, as I will discuss off and on to several people's frustration. Busy new thing tonight, I'll explain those as we go along. This is the t-shirt edition of Spider and Old Scooter, and I'll explain that too, but let's get underway with the game. I did it again. Spider Solitaire, like that. The iMac version, the default version of the 2014 machine, has its own special characteristics, especially the character of this AI back here in the pretty pixel picture. So we're going to play. I'm going to play the first deal like this, see what we've got. If you're here for the game, and I no longer know the ratio of those who care about the game and those who don't. I may never know. Who knows about these things? But anyway, if you're here for the game and maybe to try to learn how at least one old fool plays it, I'm off. You know, I've got 3 9s. I've got a 6, which I play on that 7. I try playing color on color, which I call the natural moves. It's a natural, to the best of my ability. And then if I want to start crossing the color barrier, it's always a gamble, because if you put a black on a red or vice versa, it blocks everything above it. So it's an expensive move. It may have advantages. You may want to do it, but it costs you a little something. Thus, this is a gambling game, as I've said over and over again. But there's not much more gambling to do on this, so we'll pause the game for a moment. I'll tell you why this is the t-shirt version. You see I'm wearing a t-shirt. In fact, I always wear t-shirts. Pardon me while I move the camera. This one is old. Sorry about hitting the mic. See this? Worn out collar. Yep. But I love it. This is my KUNM t-shirt. KUNM is one of our 2. We're very lucky here in Albuquerque, local NPR stations, public radio stations. They have wildly different formats when they're not carrying NPR, so there's a lot of variety. I did 4 years of volunteering for this one and listen all the time. I really like National Public Radio, and I really like the way the local stations are programmed, and I'm very picky. So there you go. That's why it's a t-shirt version. This thing down here, which is new, is from my blog, seniorjunior.blogspot.com, in case you're dying to go see a blog. And this was about one of my failed predictions. When Zika was at about here, you know, my gosh, thousands and thousands, and particularly in Brazil, and a lot of their babies were coming out with reduced head size and terrible birth defects and so forth. And I made a prediction that things were going to get awful. But they didn't. This is how it went down into where, if you could see out to the end of this Zika new cases, it's about over. It's fantastic. We were saved by herd immunity, if you must know. Okay, now I'll go play a couple of more deals and be right back. Zipped right through those. I'm now down to 2 deals. You can see I haven't made much progress. So I'll have to admit I was thinking about Houston while I was playing, so I probably missed some moves. Oh, bless those poor folk. My gosh, today now all the news, of course, is about people getting back into their homes for the first time and seeing the mayhem, the absolute chaos and the stink and the losses and the crushed lives in many regards, and people who are going to have to move away because there's no place for them to live. They can't afford to fix it. Only 20% are insured for floods, etc. It's a catastrophe beyond belief. So, moving piece. There are going to be a lot of moving pieces on TV and the net, of course, because it's moving to see these people struggling with this mighty problem. I'll go on and struggle with the next hand while I'm commiserating. There was a piece on, I think PBS, it was PBS, Saturday evening, I like PBS Weekends, the nightly news, and was about a jazz club impresario, a nice jazz club there in Houston. I'm not sure what part of town, but it really flooded badly and was like clear up to the ceiling almost. And it got all of his instruments and got all of his amplifiers and other equipment. You know, they'd set everything up before they evacuated, but not nearly high enough. And I do have some sympathy for that chemical plant that had its backup generators flooded. They had backup generators, give them credit for that. They just didn't put them high enough off the ground. Nobody expected that. Certainly not me. Did you expect it? But he was resolute, and he's, by golly, going to bring his club back, and he took the opportunity to pitch the virtues of jazz several times, all of which I agreed with. And there's a struggle ahead of that fellow and of hundreds of thousands of people. And I just can't quite keep my mind off of it. But I'll try. I'm almost feel guilty reporting that the weather here is spectacular. We've had these wonderful days. Up here in the mountains, it doesn't get over, say, 78 or 80 or something like that. Cool at nights, down in the 40s. Clear skies, the occasional shower. We did have a little hailstorm here that dented up our neighbor's car a bit. Not terrible, she said, but it's forever not new again because it has little bitty ding marks all over the top of it. Some people had their whole garden destroyed. We, being gardeners, lucked out that the hailstorm didn't actually, the core of it did not go right through here. We got some hail, but man, it was stacked up like snow in the places where it was big. But anyway, aside from the occasional disruption like that, the weather is spectacular. And there's the whole southeast of the country under the influence of Harvey. What a name for a killer. And on the West Coast, my gosh, we're having heat waves and huge fires, lots and lots of fires. One right in the middle of L.A. going up through the sort of gut of Burbank. My son Guy, who I featured on last night's game, down here in this corner, was reporting on it firsthand. Says smoke and, this oppressive heat. Everybody's using their air conditioner right up to the limit, using vast quantities of energy and power. And out in the Pacific, I think it goes sort of unnoticed that we've had record typhoons for the last 3 years. Record setting. One was 260 miles an hour. Amazing. We don't hear much about them because they don't come to the United States and can't be that important if it's only blowing away, the south end of Japan or the Philippines or someplace like that. But they're monster storms. Sort of while the Atlantic gave up on having a lot of storms, the Pacific had giganto storms, and of course we just had one, and there's another one coming. It's out in the Atlantic. All the models I see have it wandering all over. The European models, which have been better lately, they were better at predicting Sandy, for instance, say it's going to hit the United States on the East Coast somewhere. Can you imagine 2 major hurricanes in the same month? Those 500-year storms are coming way more frequently than you'd think, wouldn't you? Let's see. After I finish the game, I'll make a brief comment about governmental things that confuse and confound me. I am, of course, easily confused and confounded by certain things, so it may not be all that exceptional. Why'd they do that? I don't want to do that. I'll take it back. Doesn't cost me a penny. Right now, I am, $82 in the hole. Haven't made a score. We're on our last card. Doesn't look good. So, I'm looking around. I'm looking. Last night, I couldn't finish before the 15 minutes that this program imposes on me was up. But I did go on to win, and you, the hapless viewing public, missed that thrill. you ever think of yourself as a hapless viewer? So glad I saw that move. How about this one? Now it's a queen string, which all it needs is a red king, and I do not see any even showing. And the only other chance would be to turn it up, and to turn it up, I've got to make another hole, and that doesn't look possible. So it's $84 that I lost by. This over here, I wanted to show you. I'm declaring the game over. Get back under there. No, there. This was the cover of an old market research study that my company did back in 2004 for WALB in Alabama. Preference Talent Promotion Study. That's the sort of market research television stations bought back in those days, and we provided it. Fun, interesting, productive business. Did it for nearly 30 years. Not all television, but quite a lot of television. So now I've explained everything. This is Zika, proving me a pessimistic, bad predictor. Oh, I was going to predict something. Yes, well, I'm glad I said that. Reminded myself. The news, the political part or the governmental part, I don't understand, is that the president, Mr. Trump, requested something like $8.7 billion or nearly $9 billion to go to FEMA to work on the Houston problem, which is going to go on and on and on and up and up and up, and we'll see how much money comes forth from the federal government. I'm predicting, that's what I wanted to say. I love to predict. I predict that when it's all said and done, which may be a year, who knows, Harvey will cost more than Katrina did. I'm predicting something in the range of $120 to $140 billion. Now, whether the government will come up with that amount, I don't know, but I just love to make predictions. So there you have it. The t-shirt edition, ending with a prediction and an inexplicable, that's the map of Alabama, of course. If I pull it on up, you can see. And here's the client, WALB. So, it's been a pleasure playing with you. Well, pardon the expression. Hang in there. Send positive thoughts, money if you can afford it, to the folks who were victimized by this immense storm and by some of our own sort of zoning and errors of judgment. If you know what I mean. Cheers.